Okay. So on the board is in the top left corner over there. That's Aaron Hernandez, and he was a national football champion at the University of Florida. He played with Tim Tebow. A lot of you guys might know him. He went on to go play for the New England Patriots, and he had a pretty successful career. I think in 2012 he signed a $40 million extension. He was really good. He's going to be really good. But then on June 26, 2013, Hernandez was arrested for the murder of Odin Lloyd. And Odin Lloyd was dating Hernandez's sister. And the night Odin Lloyd was murdered, Lloyd texted his sister and said, basically just gave him all the information of where he was at and who he was with. So that's how Hernandez was found. Hernandez would then end up going to prison for 2 years before he took his own life at 27. He was found hanging from a bedsheet in his cell and ended up committing suicide. And I don't know why you can't see him, but I have another player. He was a hockey player though. He was below the Hernandez, but his name was Derek Bogard. He was an NHL player for the Rangers. And at the young age of 28, he was found dead in his friend's apartment in Minnesota. And the cause of his death was an accidental overdose. And accidental overdose of painkillers and alcohol. But those are just professional athletes. The guy right there holding the football, number 44, he was just a high school athlete. His name was Zach Easter. His name was Zach Easter. He was a high school football player. He knew he had something wrong with him. He was crying for help, but no one could really understand what he was going through. And he had a total of 7 concussions, 5 from football, 1 from a car accident, and then 1 from the National Guard. And those 7 concussions were all before he ended his life at the age of 24. So these athletes, all of them have in common, they all committed suicide. But another thing they have in common is that they all, after they were dead, they were all found to have CTE. And then today I'm going to go over what exactly this is and how did this cause, as well as the resources available to treat it. And then, there's a hockey player, my bad. So what is CTE? CTE is a degenerative brain disease typically associated with repeated injuries or trauma to the head. In the 1920s and the 1930s, it was originally known as dementia fugitivistica, which is a term used to describe mental and motor deficits associated with repeated head injuries and boxes. But later on, scientists identified a set of cerebral changes specific to repeated head trauma that came to characterize CTE. The condition was found to occur not just in boxers, but also in any person who experienced such a head trauma. Concussions seem to be the primary form of head injury involved in CTE, but some concussions may also increase CTE risk. Some concussions are just head injuries, just not as severe as concussions. But this is the mechanical case of head injuries. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a concussion. It could just be it could be from a car accident, head injury from a car accident. The symptoms of CTE usually do not occur right away. As a matter of fact, it could take years for the symptoms to show up. The early stages of the condition are characterized by symptoms such as headaches, depression, increased irritability, decreased ability to concentrate, loss of short-term memory, and suicidal behavior. As CTE progresses, though, executive brain functions, more specifically those governing judgment and inhibition, deteriorate. So when looking at the Aaron Hernandez case, it really shows how CTE really affected his decision-making in life because he ended up murdering somebody. And then this picture right here is this is a normal brain compared to a brain that's been affected with CTE. And as you can see, it's not a pretty sight. But looking into neuropathology, which is the study of brain tissue, fluids, and just the brain in general, CTE cannot be diagnosed while a person is still living. So they have to, the person has to die to know whether or not they have CTE. But the reason for this is because in order to discover CTE, they would need to look at brain tissue degeneration along with a decrease of taurine. And then taurine is an amino acid that can be looked at, or no, taurine is an amino acid that supports nerve growth. But the reason you can't diagnose it while somebody's still living because the taurine in the brain tissue, it can't be looked at by a scan. Instead, it has to be looked at through an autopsy of the body after they have passed on. As of right now, there is no treatment to treat CTE. Like if a person has it, they just kind of have to live with it, which is really, really sad to say because a lot of former NFL players are going through that and they're just living with it. But if a person does start showing these symptoms, you can try to give them the proper help. You can have them go to therapy if they start having suicidal thoughts or thoughts of hurting somebody else, or you can get them counseling. Those are really the only that's really the only thing you can do about that. And then like I said, there's no treatment to treat CTE. So if somebody has it, then you just kind of gotta pray for them, hope for the best. But since there's no treatment for it, it is important to try your best to prevent head injuries from happening. And by that happening, these are the stages of CTE too. Stage 1 is just headache and loss of concentration and attention. Stage 2 is depression, explosivity, and short-term memory loss. Stage 3 is executive dysfunction and cognitive impairment. Stage 4 is dementia, word finding difficulty, and aggression. Stage 4 is what Aaron Hernandez was found to have when his brain was studied. But it's important to prevent the head injuries in contact sports, especially in contact sports. I know the NFL's, I don't really know what the NHL is doing, but the NFL is really cracking down on rules and making it more safe for the players. And they're helping out the former players with all that and getting the help they need. And then in high school, when I was in high school, I started playing when I was in 7th grade. And when I was, we had to take a concussion test every year. And I was told if we were after my 3rd concussion, then I would no longer be able to play football. When I was a freshman, that actually happened to one of my teammates. He was a senior, and we were playing against our high school rival. And he ended up getting, he got a concussion. He wasn't knocked out, but he got a concussion. And it was halfway through the season, so I just remember on the sideline, he was just crying, and he was just super sad because he knew it was the last one he was done for the year, and it was his senior year. So it was just a very sad scene. So I know in high school, after a certain amount of concussions, then they tell you that you're done, and that's a North Dakota High School Athletics Association rule. But like I said, this is just a picture. There are no treatments. The best thing is to find a counselor or a therapist. And then CTE is a disease that affects a person's thinking and judgment and their life in general. Once a person develops CTE, they are never the same. They're most likely angry. A person that I know you guys might not know Antonio Brown, but he's a Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, and he's just gone crazy. A couple years ago, he took this really, really bad hit in a playoff game, and they say that was the turning point of his life. Because ever since then, it's been downhill. He's walked out in the middle of his game, he's fought teammates, he's yelled at coaches, he's just been going crazy. It's really sad to see. A lot of people say he's suffering with CTE, but like I said, we can't prove that because he's still alive. He thinks he doesn't have it, and a lot of people do think he's suffering CTE, but it's a disease that affects a person's life, so it's important to take the certain measures to prevent it. I think it's super unfortunate that we can't find a way to diagnose it before a person is dead. Like Zach Easter, the high school football player I was showing you, he, like I said, he knew something was wrong with him, and he was calling out for help. No one could really help him. He wrote a 39-page, Microsoft document, describing, what was happening to him. And then, one night, I think it was just that, the pain was just too much for him, and he ended up, he wrote his last wishes. One of his last wishes was to have his brain donated for research, and then like he gave like his pickup to his younger brother, and then he texted his girlfriend and said like, I'm sorry that you like picked me. I'm sorry that you're going through this, but stay strong and continue to like strive for success. And then he ended up going to his favorite hangout spot. He took a gun and then ended up going to his favorite hangout spot and ended up shooting himself. I assume it was in the chest because they studied his brain. But then, like, after his girlfriend, like, his parents and siblings ended up finding him because his girlfriend alerted his family and they went to go look for him. So cases like that, like, I just think it's super sad. And like hopefully like as technology increases and safety equipment improves, we might be able to diagnose and treat a patient before it's too late, or before a person that's suffering with CTE takes their life or another person's life. Thank you for